Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Vice Chair of APTA Board, Dorn Barnes.
I am obviously not Valerie McCall. She didn't leave me any high heels to wear or any of those kinds of good things. And I do have a confession to make to all of you. I am not much of a basketball fan. I know that's terrible. And I was actually in Europe last week representing APTA, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But when I saw Valerie on Saturday, she said, you know, there's some really big stuff going on in Cleveland, right? I'm like, okay. She said, there's a big game. I'm like, okay. Google it real quick. Oh, playoff. She said, the Cavaliers are coming from behind, but we've got high hopes. And she said, if they win, I got to go back. Mayor's calling me back. Valerie works for Mayor Frank Jackson there in Cleveland, and she said, we got a big party to plan. And so she said, if I got to leave, you got to fill in. And I said, okay, here we go. And so last night we were watching the game and tracking the score and kind of seeing what was going on. And it was quite, for those that did watch, I did see some of the game. Boy, it was quite the competitive game. And when they won, I got to tell you, Valerie was floating about 6 feet off the ground. I'm surprised she could get through the awards banquet last night. She was on the top of the world. As I understand it, the first time since 1964 that Cleveland has won the championship. So give a big round of applause to the Cleveland Cavaliers. A big night. So if it wasn't for that, Valerie would certainly be here with us, and she sends her greetings and her regards. You know, as I stand here today, you might say, okay, here's the bus guy at the rail conference. What's that about? And indeed, I do serve as the Chief Executive Officer of Foothill Transit, which is a bus-only transit system in the eastern part of Los Angeles County. And most of my career has been on the bus transit side of our industry. But to give you a little bit of background, I actually have some rail in my DNA. When I was a kid, my dad used to take us out for the weekend, and he thought it was the best thing ever to go and hike. I swear it was like 50 miles uphill both ways to take pictures of trains, because he loves trains. He's a train guy through and through. So he would snap pictures of trains. I grew up in Northern California, and we had the steam engines that still were rolling as part of the Jamestown Railroad. So we've got pictures and pictures of steam trains, but Dad's passion didn't stop there. As he's now moved into to retirement, and as he's redefining retirement, he's on the board of directors of Train Mountain. I don't know if anybody's heard of Train Mountain in Oregon. It's a 7.5-inch gauge miniature railroad, 13 miles of track that run all over this place. And he's got a couple of locomotives that he actually rides on all throughout Train Mountain. But no, there's even more to it than that. Dad and a couple of his buddies decided that wasn't good enough. So a couple years ago, they bought a Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe passenger rail car, the Palm Leaf, part of the original Super Chief set of cars that traveled from Los Angeles to Chicago, the flagship of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe line. So Dad's got a passenger rail car, and for a while he actually even owned an interest in a switch engine that he played around with outside of his home in Turlock. So, you know, some people have the family fortune tied up in stocks, bonds, real estate. We got it tied up in rolling stock. So, you know, that's what we have going on. It's pretty wild stuff. And I'll tell you more about that perhaps next year when we get together. But I definitely have some rail in my DNA. And I do know that Dad probably is secretly wishing, he's never said this to me, but he probably secretly wishes that someday I'd go to work for a system that actually has some rail transit. So still got to work on that. Don't want to let Dad down. So anyway, to everybody here, happy Father's Day that was here for the weekend. And it's great to have these kind of connections with our folks. You know, thinking about the Super Chief and passenger rail in the United States, again, the Super Chief was many might say was the pinnacle of rail in our country. It was the flagship of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe. It was the train of the stars. And some might say that those glory days have come and gone, and we're trying to recover and reverse. But in looking at what's happening in our industry, I'm not sure those were the glory days, but I think there are glory days ahead of us as well. And when I look at what's happening in our industry, phenomenal growth, phenomenal interest in what we're doing. It's an exciting time to be in our industry. Even with gas prices as low as they are, rail ridership for the first quarter of this year was up in many communities, including right here in Phoenix. And that is a great story to be able to tell. Some communities, Houston, Baltimore, Seattle, Newark, had double-digit increases in rail ridership. Amazing stuff. And rail ridership wasn't just confined to light rail trips on commuter rail and heavy rail. We're also up in every region of the country. So it's very clear that rail is popular, it's growing, we have a lot more work to do. And it's because people have seen how new or expanded routes and new stations become magnets for jobs, businesses, residents, visitors, events, economic growth. It's about building communities, it's about how we build a sense of place related to how our rail programs and our transit programs broadly serve and connect to our communities. It's really, really cool stuff. So we have a lot to do, but we also have many challenges. We're reading the paper every day about rail systems, the need for infrastructure, the need for investment. The FAST Act certainly helped, but it didn't help enough. There's more that needs to be done. We've got to make sure that we're maintaining state of good repair, that we're maintaining the quality of services and programs that our residents expect, that we're expanding, but also ensuring that critical investment in our core, because without that, our systems completely fall apart. So we have a lot of challenges ahead. We have a lot of work to do. It's an exciting time and a challenging time. Yesterday at the Products and Services Showcase, you get a glimpse of the types of energy, the types of thinking, the types of new products and services that are out there to meet those challenges. We've certainly got the wherewithal to get it done, but we need to keep working hard because there is an absolutely tremendous amount to do. Last week, I had a chance to join APTA's Chief of Staff, Petra Millette, and we were in Europe meeting with many of APTA's partners, including UIC, the various operators in France, GIE, and the European Mobility Exhibition, and really saw the challenges that our European partners are facing and the solutions that they're bringing. There's much that we can learn from each other. We also had some great meetings with our friends at UITP, and I know we have representatives from UITP that are joining us for this conference. Again, we have big challenges, we have great ideas, and we can be stronger by sharing those ideas, by learning from each other, both on a national perspective and international perspective. That's what this is all about. Bringing those ideas together, figuring out how do we continue to push and grow and build a great country. Super stuff. Now, we began last night with some really exciting aspects, and really the excellence of our industry was demonstrated very clearly last night at our award ceremony. We started off with what's our number one priority? I don't care whether you're a business, whether you're a transit system, I don't care what you do. What's our number one priority? Safety. Absolutely. That is the universal number one priority for all of us. Safety is absolutely crucial. And so we began in what I believe was absolutely the right spot last night by focusing on safety. We recognized 3 Gold Award recipients for safety achievements. These included the New York MTA Metro North Railroad, who received the Gold Safety Award for their commuter rail safety program. And we had a double winner. The Maryland Transit Administration won both the Light Rail Safety Award and the Heavy Rail Security Award. Huge accomplishments. Let's give them a round of applause. And of course, from there, we moved on to excellence in maintenance and operation through our rail rodeo. We had a record 21 different teams competing this year, including one from Canada and one from Japan. Truly international, very exciting. Standing up and helping to greet the recipients last night was a great honor and a great thrill. And one of the things that I was really impressed with were the number of different organizations who came up to be recognized for their excellence in the delivery of service. It wasn't one system that dominated. there were a whole bunch of folks up here, and I know that everyone participated is demonstrating excellence in what you do. It really is the pinnacle of our commitment to delivery of high-quality service. We had the 3 overall winners. The first place operator team, the winner of the rodeo was the Regional Transportation District in Denver, Colorado. Let's give them a hand. The winner of the first place maintenance team, the San Francisco Bay Area Rapid Transit District. Again, very exciting. And being from Los Angeles County, this last one was particularly exciting for me. The winner of this year's first place Team Achievement Award was the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority. So again, let's give them a big hand. Way to go, my LA colleagues. Well, we certainly have many challenges as we move forward, challenges that we must face, tackle, difficult situations that we must tackle. The problems are not easy. This is not easy work to be able to do the things that we need to do to serve our communities, to do it safely, to do it reliably, to grow our systems, to have the resources to make all of that happen. But this is the place where we come together to share those ideas, to learn from each other. We have an incredibly robust program that's been planned. There are breakout sessions, there are technical sessions. I mean, you can get as technical as you want here, and there's a session that's for you that'll be able to get into the challenges that you're facing. This is a great place to come together. It really demonstrates the power of our association. I also know that some of the very, very best conversations are probably going to occur right outside in the hallway somewhere, where you run into somebody who's facing a challenge that's just like the challenge you have back at home, and the ability to have that interaction, the ability to share that information, that's what APTA is about. That's what gives our association strength and power. You're in the right place. We're going to have a great conference. Now it's time to hear from the man who leads this great city of Phoenix, our host for this fabulous rail conference. Since taking office in 2012, Mayor Greg Stanton has taken on some of the toughest issues of any city leader. His leadership has created opportunity, a greater sense of inclusion and fairness, and a growth-oriented, livable community, and we are absolutely seeing that firsthand here. This is a mayor who understands the power of public transit, and he thinks big. He has set a goal to triple the number of light rail miles in Phoenix over the next 30 years. The people of Phoenix are lucky to have you, Greg, and APTA is grateful to be here in your city. Please give a warm APTA welcome to Mayor of City of Phoenix, Greg Stanton. Right. Greg, welcome. Let's jump right over that.
Everyone, thank you, Doran. It's too bad Valerie wasn't here, but for a good reason. Cleveland Cavaliers won that spectacular game last night. As a long-suffering Phoenix Suns fan, we have yet to win our first championship. It gives us all hope that if the Cleveland Cavaliers can do it, so can we here in Phoenix, Arizona. You're a tough group. Oh, please. Thank you. Yeah, Suns fans. You're a tough group to choose Phoenix. Global warming is real. Just go outside. You feel the heat. You thought you were going to beat the heat by having your conference here in June. It gets worse over the rest of the summer. But we're a tough, strong group here in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you for choosing our city for this very important conference, talking about a very important issue, the future of transportation, the future of rail. That video was awesome and thought-provoking. I want to steal it and put it up on my website for the Mayor of the City of Phoenix website. It talks about the future of our society, the future of our globe, how we're coming closer together. And yet we're here talking about rail and the future of rail. I'm a huge supporter of public transportation and rail. I'm one of those kids who grew up in a public transportation family. I grew up in West Phoenix, which is kind of the working class part of our city. My dad sold shoes at JCPenney. He took the Phoenix city bus every single day to earn his living going to Park Central Mall in downtown Phoenix. He put 4 kids through college and me through law school on a salesman's salary because we saved so much money utilizing public transportation. I understand how important what you do every single day is to working families across the United States of America. It makes a huge difference. But the question sometimes comes up, Well, is rail an old technology? It's ironic that we had a forward-looking video and we're looking at this particular technology. I was asked that as we opened up a command center for Uber, who put about 300 jobs in downtown Phoenix. How could you be standing here supporting a new technology like Uber at the same time being such a passionate advocate for rail and bus service in your city? And my answer then is the same as it now. Those are false choices. Great cities of the future are going to be supportive of ride sharing, supportive of driverless vehicles, but equally as supportive of rail and buses and bikeability and walkability. Great cities across the United States of America and the globe are those cities that have as many transportation options for people as possible. And rail is a critically important part of what we are accomplishing. I know the theme of this conference is where the investments are made, that's where community grows. You have chosen the right city. We're the poster child, probably in the United States of America, for how an investment in rail can advance your city. 10 years ago, we didn't have our wonderful light rail system that we have now in place. That process, we opened only in 2008. At the same time, the city made other significant investments, like in a great convention center, like in this hotel where we're having this very meeting, like in universities. We have an Arizona State University campus right in the heart of the city. None of that would have been possible without that investment in rail. Over $8 billion of public and private sector investment along the just over 20 plus miles of our original light rail line. Almost none of that would have occurred without the decision of the citizens of this community, both the city of Phoenix and regionally, to make that essential investment in that light rail line. So of course, when I became mayor, I said, I'm going to build upon that. We're going to ask the people of this Phoenix to go even bigger. And we put on the ballot last September, and I think others are going to talk about it as well, the largest transportation infrastructure investment in the United States of America, a 35-year, $32 billion investment that is going to triple the amount of light rail in our community, as well as significantly, oh, thank you, yeah, appreciate it. And significantly increase the amount of bus service, including not just expand the breadth of our system, but increase the frequency of our system, which is so critically important to families like the one I grew up in our city. 1,000 miles of bike lane, dial-a-ride services is going to significantly improved. Finish our Complete Streets program so that our streets are much more walkable with much more shade in a city like Phoenix, which is critically important. And we didn't put roads against transit, we combined them. We're going to more than double the amount of road improvements because the money that we used to get from the state of Arizona all got swept away during the worst of the recession. We're moving forward on public transportation investment. It's going to be great for the future of our city. But one of the challenges, and we're going to hear from our great congressman in just a moment who is on the right side of these issues, but one of the challenges, as everyone in this room knows about, is the fundamental change that we've seen in the relationship between cities and Washington, D.C. It used to be, it wasn't that many years ago, for a major rail project would get 80% of the dollars from Washington, 20% from local sources. Those days are gone. Cities like Phoenix need to look in the mirror and say, if we're going to advance, we're going to build infrastructure in our cities, we can't rely on Washington to do so. We've got to look in the mirror and do it ourselves. That's why the voters of Phoenix accepted that challenge, and that proposition I mentioned, it passed overwhelmingly by the voters of Phoenix. And our estimates of federal support under that plan is only 30%. That's the new normal. That's the new reality. This industry needs to support local elected officials that are willing to have the political courage, if you will, to put those initiatives on the ballot, because we're going to be much more self-reliant at the local level moving forward if we're going to build the infrastructure that video made the case that we so desperately need in the United States of America. Just like it also talked about climate change. We're only going to meet our climate change goals under the Paris Agreement if cities and localities step up to the plate, because Congress is not going to step up to the plate. They're not going to approve the requirements for climate change and reducing carbon emissions under Paris there. It's going to happen at the local level, although I'm proud that we have congressmen like Congressman Gallego, who's going to speak in just a moment, who are standing strong for cities across the United States, but particularly Phoenix. We need more Congress members like them. So we're doing great things in the city of Phoenix. We support what this conference stands for. I know you're going to talk about safety and other issues, but that argument about where community growing, we are the poster child, and we're proud to do so. You haven't visited Phoenix in about 10 years. You've seen the amazing changes. Come back more often, because our city is transforming itself right before our very eyes, and investment in rail is right at the very forefront of the positive changes happening in the city of Phoenix. Welcome to Phoenix. Have a great conference, APTA.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for having us here in your city. We are very excited about the things that are happening here in Phoenix. It's a very, very exciting time. At this time, we are very pleased and proud to welcome Congressman Gallego to the podium here to share more with us about what's happening here in Phoenix, and I'm sure also some insights about what's happening even more broadly here within the House of Representatives. So please welcome Congressman Gallego. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I actually brought a PowerPoint presentation to tell you what's going on wrong in Washington, D.C., so I hope everyone's ready. Now, first of all, thank you, everyone, for being here, braving the heat. We actually call this our light summer at this point. So if you see Greg and I wearing suits, it's because we think this isn't as hot as it usually gets. Mayor, I can't say much more than you guys already have seen from the mayor. We truly do have a dynamic, forward-thinking mayor. He's so forward-thinking that instead of throwing me under the bus, he threw me under the tracks. So I appreciate that. You know, it's been an interesting transformation here for the city of Phoenix. I actually moved to downtown Phoenix because I saw light rail being built. And if there's a demographic that was perfectly fitting what light rail was trying to attract, it certainly was my wife and I then. We were both young college graduates, no kids, dual income, so we were basically a city planner's best hope and dream of who will move downtown. And we did, and to see the investment since then has been great. But we know that the investment needs to continue. So first of all, thank you for everyone here that is working on a daily basis and advocating for it. And this is not an easy job, especially in a time of recession, in a time of austerity, where a lot of cities, counties, and states, and even the federal government are trying to find savings. Your organization has stuck through and true to believing and pushing hard on us elected officials to continue investment in light rail. Just here, the improvements that we've seen here in Phoenix, especially in the South Central Corridor where I live and where we need a lot of work, the federal and local capital investments have helped improve the Valley Metro system, and it's been increasing access to employment and overall quality of life for residents in this area. Thanks to a couple local leaders, one in which I'm very partial to, my wife, Vice Mayor Kate Gallego, who was the chair of the Proposition 104, the $35 billion tax incentive, and of course the mayor. Sorry, Mayor, you get second billing to her. We're going to continue seeing these great of and services that are spread throughout, especially for South Phoenix. If many of you guys ever want to study an interesting portion of city planning, South Phoenix was a portion of the city that was forever really segregated, not just in terms of race, but also in terms of infrastructure and investment. For many years, this area that was where only African American and Latinos were allowed to live only had one bridge over a very dry riverbed. And that one bridge was the only way in and out of South Phoenix, and there was only very, very limited bus service. And now the city, of course, has continued to grow, and city services down there have continued to grow. But the one thing that it has been missing, and something that I'm working on, the mayor's working on, and my wife's working on, is expanding rail down there. Because we know that that area that is filled with working class families, they want to send their kids to ASU, which is right downtown. They want to go to the nearest hospital, which is on Central and Thomas, and it's at least about 6 miles away from, actually 10 miles away from anywhere in South Phoenix. We have no hospitals in South Phoenix at this point. So rail actually will transform a lot of people's lives. And you know, personally for me, it certainly did. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. Are there any Chicagoans here? There you go. In the back. Wow, shocker. Just kidding. Give them credit, they're not at the bar. But I grew up actually in the south side of Chicago, around 55th and Western and 50th in California, called the Gage Park area. And in my formative years, the Orange Line extension opened up down there. And it really did make a difference for me. I grew up in a single-parent home, low income. My mom was a very hardworking secretary. So my second parent, the person that drove me around, was the CTA. And if it wasn't for the CTA, I really think I would be a different person. I took that rail to school. I took the rail to even just explore the city. Sometimes when you live in certain parts of the city, you don't actually get to see anywhere else unless your parents take you. I took that the CTA down to the museums. I took it down to up to the north side to see how rich people lived, which is very interesting if you're from the south side. And it really, started changing my perspective on life. It took me to my first summer job at the age of 17. And it even took me to my first girlfriend. I asked that you not tell that to my wife, or she may change her opinion on light rail and mass transportation, though. And we really need her on our side. But point being is that we aren't just, when I say we, rail is not just an infrastructure opportunity in the sense that if it's a hard steel and cement. It really is an infrastructure opportunity for the skill sets and connections that a young man and woman needs. We can build the infrastructure of opportunity for a young person to be able to go to college, or build the infrastructure opportunity for them to actually go to the library so they could study and get a better job, or for that single parent like my mother to get a better job by not having to depend on a car, or allowing mass transportation to actually take care of their kids' transportation needs so they could focus on their career investment. So there's a certain need, obviously, for the infrastructure, the hard steel that we talk about. But we also need to remember that transportation brings a different type of opportunity that we are just not going to be able to measure when it comes to the social capital that somebody is going to be able to gain from the investment that we're making through our tax dollars. So for me, at the federal level, I do take this personally. I'm committed to fighting for more federal dollars for mass transportation. I think it's important, too, that we not just say we want more, we want it to be extremely modern and durable and sustainable. Our funding cannot be on these short cycles. You have to pay our cities, our counties, they have to pay our companies to build, design, and create and program these systems for more than 30 years, and yet our funding cycles are tied to 5 years, 4 years election cycles. There's no business that can operate that way, and somehow Congress still believes that these modern infrastructure systems should operate that way. But we are feeling very positive here in the city of Phoenix. We do have a local, dedicated political class, also social leaders, businesses, nonprofits that are entirely devoted to seeing the expansion of rail. And I'd like to note the mayor is a lot less partisan than I am. He's a good nonpartisan mayor. We are nonpartisan elected. I'm extremely partisan, just to give you guys a heads up. Sorry about that. But the one thing I would give you some solace is that election that he spoke about, where we asked the city of Phoenix voter for $35 billion, the largest investment in the United States at this point in mass transportation. The majority of the voters were Republican voters, and they voted affirmatively for this investment. That is a good sign for Arizona, and I think it's a great sign for this country if we can understand that infrastructure investment in rail, is a bipartisan issue that has positive results. I only wish Congress could actually take a look at what Phoenix is doing and how we're doing it and take some good examples. Or at least I certainly am going to try. So with that, thank you again all for your commitment to this great cause, to expanding rail. Thank you for everyone that has invested in the city of Phoenix. And thank you to everyone that's braving the heat. We greatly appreciate it. And I hope you will take pride in what we've built here, And please tell your friends to come visit us, even when it's the summer. Thank you.
Well, Representative Gallego, thank you for being with us and for sharing your story. It's great to hear about your background and how transit had an impact on your life, and there are so many stories that are out there that are like that. More importantly, we appreciate you fighting so hard in Washington for the resources that we need. We got to get that D+ in a much better spot. So again, let's give Representative Gallego a big hand. Thank you. All right, well, we are certainly grateful to our hosts, and for anyone who's ever hosted an APTA conference or seminar or event, the host property puts in a tremendous amount of work. We are very grateful for the dedication and the hardworking staff here at our hosts at Valley Metro. Valley Metro has been a remarkable partner in pulling this together and putting the rodeo together, to supporting the conference planning activity, to making us feel welcome here. To all of our friends at Valley Metro, let's give them all a big round of applause. And absolutely. And as you have a moment throughout the conference here, as you see our friends from Valley Metro, please be sure to thank them for their hard work. Because again, this conference would not be possible without these dedicated individuals. Of course, a program like this and a great team like our colleagues at Valley Metro have to have a great leader, and in fact, they do. I had a chance to visit with Scott Smith, the interim CEO here at Valley Metro. We met and served on a panel together during the early career program. And Scott, as we visited together, you were telling me about how you were sort of an accidental person that's come into our industry. I think that's a story that we often hear. But what I really admired and appreciated was your passion for what you're doing, for the leadership that you're bringing. You have an incredible wealth of experience as a certified public accountant, as a lawyer, a CEO of a home building company, former mayor, so understanding the political environment, and a former president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which again provides some tremendous insights. Appreciate the leadership that you're bringing here, and you're hosting us here for this phenomenal conference. Scott, we met for the first time on Saturday, and we've had a couple of chances to be together, and I feel like we're old friends, and it's always good to be with friends. Please welcome APTA's great friend, Valley Metro CEO, Scott Smith.
Thank you, Doran, and thanks to all of you for being here. We at Valley Metro and here in the Phoenix metro area appreciate your commitment to transit and rail transit, and thank you for allowing us the great opportunity to host you here for this incredible conference. You know, Doran, speaking of going off script, I think I will, as I don't usually have a script anyway, but he talks about me being an accidental transit executive, and that I am. He talked about my background. I grew up as a professional, got into business, sold that business and decided to run for office. And I ran for office of mayor of Mesa, which is a city right down at the end of the line here. The 38th largest city in the country that lives in the shadow of the 6th largest city, a great combination. Worked a lot with Mayor Stanton and his predecessor. And it reminded me of why I became passionate about transit. Because I have to admit, in my previous life, transit was a passing thing. I saw the buses, I'd go to other cities, I'd ride on systems, but it was really a passing interest of mine. And then Lynn from APTA staff reminded me of a story of how the things clicked, the light bulb came on. I traveled a lot up to Salt Lake City on business in the mid-90s up through the early 2000s. And so I watched with a lot of interest the building of the opening line of the tracks, the light rail in Salt Lake. That interested me because I knew Salt Lake and Utah as being a very red, conservative place. And, a lot of times transit, and especially light rail and conservative political areas, often are oil and water. And granted, the political battle in Utah to build the first line of light rail and its system was very, very hard. Maybe with the Olympics, it may or may not have ever happened. But I watched with interest how that took place. And then I had a conversation with my aunt. Now, my aunt lives in Orem, about 45 miles south of Salt Lake, and my aunt is in her mid-80s now, and she's my mom's sister, grew up as one of 4 daughters on a cattle ranch. I mean, this is a hardened lady, whose politics run to the right of the Tea Party. So, you know, I'm talking to her, and you can imagine, I bring up the light rail in Salt Lake, and I'm expecting, I did this basically to egg her on. Because, you know, to her, things like public transit, especially light rail, I mean, pick your argument, communist, white elephant, you know, dark hole, you've heard of all, right? And my aunt starts talking about her experience with the new light rail system in Salt Lake, and she says, you know, it's really wonderful. I stop. What? No. My friend and I, we drive up to Draper, which was the end of line. We get on it. We take the 20 miles into downtown Salt Lake to go to the symphony or to go to downtown for whatever. And it's an amazing experience. And I go, no, Carol, you do realize what you're saying here. She goes, I know, but it's changed my life. Right then and there, the light bulb came on. Because I understood the impact that we can have on people. Yes, we talk a lot about how we provide base transportation, and we do. We talk about how we get people from point A to B, and we do. But what we sometimes don't really talk about is the impact we have on communities as a whole. People like my aunt who now have their lives changed. This community went through a life-changing event a little over, not quite 8 years ago. Now, I really need you to get in the visioning statement, because I'm going to tell you something which is going to amaze you. Light rail in Phoenix, Arizona opened on December 27th, 2008. I'd been a mayor for about 6 months. So I got to benefit from all the vision of my predecessors in building the first, at that time, and I believe still is, the longest first starter line of over 20 miles in U.S. history. Now here's where you need to get a little bit creative. It was cold. It was in the 20s. I mean, we're talking about icicles hanging from the podium. This is no lie. Ice on the stand as we did a ribbon cutting. In typical Phoenix fashion, half the people on the stand either didn't own an overcoat or forgot their overcoats. So we're up there dying. And it taught me to remember that, you know, this, once again, in my community, also very red as far as Republican, very conservative. I had to look and say, you know, as you look at the icicles, you know, there are opponents of light rail in Phoenix, Arizona that said that light rail would never be in our city until hell froze over, and yet look what happened. From that day on, though, we have had a community that, just like my aunt in Orem, Utah, has been changed. We have a community that not only has accepted rail, but has embraced it. We, of course, now that we're up to 27 miles through 2 extensions, including one through my downtown, and I had the great privilege of mayor to be part of, from the day one, the planning of that rail extension through our downtown. And I've seen how it changes communities. I've seen how it drives economics. The mayor talked about the investment. $8 billion of real estate investment. Now, did every bit of that happen because of light rail? No. But let me tell you, our light rail route goes through 3 downtowns along a route that, frankly, has seen better days. And I can tell you that if you looked at the 20 years before that, you would not see an investment that was even a quarter of that along that route. There's no doubt that in 7.5 years, light rail has changed our community. There's no doubt that light rail has changed how people live, how people interact, how people invest. You've experienced that in your communities. We are a great study because we started from scratch, and now we can show what's happened after less than 8 years. I had another experience about this not long after light rail had opened, 3 years, but before our extension was done. As a mayor, I was speaking in front of a group of people, retirees in an RV retirement resort, about 100 of them. So I was by far the youngest person in the audience, and I'm talking to them about politics and everything, and we opened it up for questions. Now, these seniors were, of course, retirees, fixed income, 95% probably Republican, 99% conservative, and the first question, of course, is about light rail. And I'm going, okay, here it comes. Yes, sir, what do you want to know about light rail? Well, Mayor, you know, I understand you have an extension plan to this light rail. He says, yes, we do, sir. When's that going to start construction? And I'm waiting for the big, the bomb. I said, well, probably not for another 6 to 9 months. Can't you speed it up? We're not getting any younger in this room. So I asked a follow-up question. I said, well, that's interesting. So you like her? Oh, yes. And then another one. It's changed my life. I said, how many of you ride light rail on a constant basis? I would say monthly, bi-weekly, whatever it is. Fully 80% of the people in that room raised their hands. And I asked them, how has it changed our lives? And all the buzzwords that you've heard today came up. It's given me freedom. It's taken me to new areas. It's helped me to explore. It's given me a break from my car, of which I am a prisoner. We forget that many people are a prisoner because they don't have transportation, or when they do have transportation, they reach that point where they're limited to the run between home and the grocery store and the doctor. And what we do is we change communities. That's why when they asked me to take on this role as interim CEO, I was anxious, engaged, and happy to do so because I believe in transit. I believe in rail transit. I know you believe in rail transit. I love preaching to the choir. That's fun. But I've talked to you about a couple of experiences where I've had discussions that where it wasn't the choir, where I expected it to be those opponents, those people who don't like what we do. And yet I found that when people have a chance to experience what we build and what we operate, they not only become advocates, they become passionate like we become passionate. Thank you for being part of this great, great effort. I want you to know that I believe we are involved in a very noble process, a noble initiative. We change communities. We change communities for the better. We change communities in a way that communities didn't even know they could be changed. We change people's lives. We change investment. We give them decisions they didn't have before. That's a great thing to be involved with. That's why I'm passionate about transit. That's why I know you're passionate about transit. Thank you for coming together where we as a group can share our stories, can help each other, can teach each other, can build upon this passion. So when we go back, we can be leaders in our community too. The other thing I found out, and both the mayor and the congressman mentioned it, is that often our people in our communities are far ahead of the political leaders when it relates to transit, especially rail transit. The politicians look at the price tag and it scares them away. They look at conflict and it scares them away. And they're not talking to the people whose lives have been changed. They don't believe that even people in cities like Mesa, Arizona, defined by MIT and UCLA as the most conservative big city in America, loves rail transit. They live for rail transit. They believe in rail transit. It is our job, our obligation, to help communicate that message. And whether it be through education or through helping those leaders who are bold enough to step out of their comfort zone, especially Republican leaders. It's not hard for a Democrat to do this. Many times it's hard, especially in this environment, and this is a conservative Republican speaking to you, to step out of that shell and to speak boldly about things like expansion of rail service, investing in rail service, and changing communities through rail service. It is our obligation to support those leaders and let them know they have friends. They have people who will stand behind them. They have people who will help them and support them in their efforts because we believe in it, because we know what it does. Thank you once again for being here. I wish I could give you a day, well actually I wish I could give you a day where there were neither icicles nor heat warnings. But you know what? You're inside a beautiful hotel, which guess what? Looks like every other hotel in any city in America. But understand that what we do here is different. I thank you for being here. I welcome you formally on behalf of a great organization. I thank Rick Simonetta, I think you were around here, Rick, who was our CEO when we built this system and did a wonderful job. Before going on, let's give Rick a big hand. I also thank our staff, Valley Metro staff. If you would stand, raise your hands, do whatever. Let's please give them a, oh, I know there's a lot more in the back there. And once again, I'd like you all to give yourself a big hand for being the vehicles of change in this great country. Investment in infrastructure is what helped build this country. Starting from the ports, to the Erie Canal, to the Transcontinental Railroad, to the interstate highway system, to the great transportation systems of the future. You've seen the future. We will play a pivotal role. Thank you very much for being here. Good luck, and now let's go knock it out. Park.
Scott, again, thanks to you and the Valley Metro team for being such wonderful hosts here. You know, I think that as I think about our industry and I think about what we're doing here, I suspect that most, if not all of the people in this room are not here because this is a job. This is a passion. We're not just running and building and maintaining rail lines. We're changing communities. Scott, you framed it beautifully. We're making a difference. People are here because we have passion for what we do. And what better place to be than right here in Phoenix, right here in this beautiful hotel that's nice and cool while it's sizzling hot outside. But you know what? I would contend that there's actually a lot of sizzle. There's an incredible amount of sizzle right here in this building. There's passion, there's energy, there's excitement, because we're making a difference. This is the place to learn. This is the place to share idea. This is the place to get reacquainted with old friends and meet some new friends. Meet lots of new friends, because we are all in this together to make a difference. Have a wonderful conference, and we'll see you over the next couple of days. Thanks, everyone.